But back then, it was all about survival of the fittest. It was about my ambition. It was about my passion to move boundaries and to evolve from a cost center into a revenue center, right? It was not easy back then to basically sit with a budget which is predetermined and just basically, get in the work. We had to transform. We had to move from a traditional concept to start getting in more accountability and more responsibility.
So I have to say this, it's not every day that someone can say they have digitally reimagined iconic names like McDonald's UK and Visit Britain. That kind of work doesn't just shift brands, it shifts industries. So was there a particular behind the scenes moment during those projects that still linger with you? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to FaceTime with Leaders, a podcast by Directors Institute, World Council of Directors, where we sit down with visionary minds who have not only led industries but helped shape them. I'm your host, Sunny Bancholi, and today I'm truly looking forward to this conversation. Joining us is someone who has not just scaled businesses but built them. Someone who has redefined what leadership looks like in high growth sectors across continents. With over 2 decades of pioneering digital ventures and operational transformations, it's an honor to welcome Mr. Girish Manik to the show.
Thank you, Sunny. It's a pleasure to be in front of you today, and I look forward to our session. Thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to share my experiences with the larger audience. Thank you.
The pleasure is all ours, Mr. Girish. You have navigated industries, geographies, and generations of change. Today, we will unpack that journey, those bold decisions, and the kind of thinking that drives results and inspires teams globally.
Yes, thank you. I look forward to it, and I would love to basically deep dive as well.
So, Mr. Manik, when I look at your journey from building ventures from the ground up to transforming a cost center into a multi-million pound engine of growth, it's clear that what you have created isn't just success, it's legacy. And I am curious, what did it take emotionally and mentally to stay the course through all those years of scale, reinvention, and leadership at such a high level?
Interesting question. So, Sunny, you know, it's not been a smooth scale. Let's be very honest about it. If I were to say it's a smooth scale, then I would be lying. The journey has, of course, been roller coaster. So it has had its highs, it has had its lows. And overall, it's been interesting. But I think what set the ship sailing for me was absolute discipline and the kind of environment where we were mentored. You see, our co-founders are very disciplined entrepreneurs, and they taught us the right way in terms of how to build successful businesses. What really played out well and was important is, while I touched upon discipline, is that when you come from a very uh, disciplined cost center environment, it instills in you that every resource or every money that you spend is not easily earned. I think that plays a very important role, and that basically emotionally tunes you in terms of expanding your horizons and expanding your wings. That's what I would say. As I said, it was a roller coaster, meaning we had our highs as far as emotions are concerned. We had our lows as far as emotions are concerned. We never saw sunrise. We never saw sunset, right? There were times when 24 days was less, but there were times when you just wanted to put your head down because your body just wouldn't allow you to, work anymore, right? People talk about work-life balance. Those growing up days truly taught us that it was all about work with little attention to life. I don't commit this mantra anymore. I believe that it is all about life work and not work life, because if you do not have a life, you don't have work, But back then, it was all about survival of the fittest. It was about my ambition. It was about my passion to move boundaries and to evolve from a cost center into a revenue center, right? It was not easy back then to basically sit with a budget which is predetermined and just basically get in the work. We had to transform. We had to move from a traditional concept to start getting in more accountability and more responsibility. You see, when you start managing your own P&L, right, that's when accountability and responsibility makes a lot of sense. In a cost center environment, you are guided by, as I said, a fixed budget, with very limited wingspan. But when you start becoming a P&L center, right, you tend to expand your wings, but you got to keep in mind quite a few things in the background, that your expansion depends about ensuring that your head is always above the water level, because you do not want to be, drowning when you are just starting to expand your horizons, starting to expand your wings. So to summarize, it's a very interesting journey. And I think the most important mantra for me has been that you cannot succeed without your people, right? Thankfully, I had a very great team. And without them, I think we wouldn't have seen the transformation that we are seeing today. I think you got to really start prioritizing who are the important elements as far as an organization is concerned. And for me, I think that was people first, because without them, I wouldn't be sitting out here cherishing or enjoying my 20, 25 years of work experience. Carry your people along. I think they are there with you during your highs and lows. They are the loyalists. They carry you forward. They give you that helping support, and without them, I think no organization can flourish. I don't know whether that helps, Sunny, in terms of the emotions. I could have continued going on about it, but I think that's where the essence is in terms of how we transform discipline, being cost conscious, spending wisely, and spending where it's required the most. Let me give you a small snippet. Back then we were struggling with a decision in terms of what do we do in terms of cutting costs. We had two options: either let go of people or compromise on our office space. But both came with a lot of pros and cons. I think that decision helped us carve where the organization is today, that we invested in our people and we made sacrifices which we believe were something that every organization must do in order for it to succeed.
That's incredibly powerful, Mr. Manik. It's not often we get to hear the what it took behind the headlines. And the way you have articulated it really shows that great leadership is as much about inner strength as it is about strategy and
Yes.
people, of course.
Yes, thank you. I agree with you completely, Sunny.
So I have to say this, it's not every day that someone can say they have digitally reimagined iconic names like McDonald's UK and Visit Britain. That kind of work doesn't just shift brands, it shifts industries. So was there a particular behind the scenes moment during those projects that still linger with you? Something that made you pause and go, this is why I do what I do.
Very interesting. I think those partnership experience were much earlier on in my career, when I was probably a program manager or something. But what really got me going is that I believe strongly that if you start treating your customers as clients or clients as customers, I don't think so you're being fair to them. I'm proud to say that I think I coined the term partnerships, which are important. Till you do not partner with your so-called customers and clients, you will not be able to actually see the vision from their eyes. You got to move away from transactional aspects of a partnership or a relationship, and you got to start thinking about them as joint stakeholders in their vision. Till you don't do that, okay, you're just going to be classifying it as a pure classic client vendor relationship. That got me excited in terms of that you have to partner with people And people can be anything. It can be stakeholders, it can be customers, it can be clients. Till you don't bridge that partnership or that gap, it's not going to add any value or not going to add any merit either to their vision or to your own vision, right? Yes, I have had the honor and pleasure of working with some fantastic brands, like you mentioned, and many more. What was interesting and beautiful was that we were able to win such partners primarily because, as I said, we treated them as family. We treated them as people who we believe can make a difference to the world. And these are very early on in the career and very early on in the digital revolution also to work with these partners. I mean, we transformed, uh, the tourism authority, we transformed the FMCG industries by helping them, by working with them to really understand how they can uh, take forward their vision, their ambition through digital transformation, right? That's very exciting. You see, uh, I've I've been working since the dot-com boom, so I've seen the booms, I've seen the downfall. Also, it's been an interesting journey, right? So we really capitalize when things were high up in the sky. And today's AI revolution, obviously, technologies move quite significantly, right? So I think that's what got me really excited that I want to be part of this digital revolution, which does not have an end date or an end game for it. Okay, it is going to continue in infinity going forward, Sunny.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mr. Manik, what's more fascinating about your journey is how seamlessly you have moved between building tech ventures and contributing to spaces like Rajasthan Royals and the Royal Rajasthan Foundation. It really speaks to a kind of versatility that few leaders carry. What draws you into these vastly different boardrooms? And when you
Uh,
walk into each one, how do you shift gears and prepare to bring your best to such diverse worlds?
uh, I think yeah, before we delve into it deeply, I obviously want to thank, the stakeholders, the co-founders, who gave me this opportunity, because without them, it wouldn't have been possible. You see, the most important thing about this having this kind of diverse experience, and I'm fortunate and one of those lucky few who've been able to traverse from tech to sports and to foundations or through social entrepreneurship, uh, is that you're able to replicate your experience of any one sector to another sector, at least at the governance level, right? Because at the end of the day, even when you look at the Directors Institute, what is the common theme across organizations and industries today, irrespective of whatever business they do? It is governance, right? Where you're able to originate, replicate, and create, best practices, right? Which can be translated, transferred to other organizations. Okay, I think that's where the catch is, or that's where the success lies. I was able to replicate because we set up standard governance mechanisms, let's say in my primary duties and responsibilities. And the co-founders, the stakeholders obviously saw merit in terms of replicating these best practices in other organizations. And hence I had the honor and pleasure of joining the boards of such brilliant industries, like Rajasthan Royals and Royal Rajasthan Foundation. Rajasthan Royals, as everyone knows, is the IPL team. Uh, Royal Rajasthan Foundation is an affiliate subsidiary of Rajasthan Royals, which looks after empowered women in states like Rajasthan in terms of looking after their livelihood and in terms of environmental aspects as well, in terms of water projects. To add, the experience has been quite interesting because uh, every organization, while has certain governance benchmarks and mechanics, you got to really be able to wear the hat to ensure that you're disciplined in your approach, and that when you are wearing a hat as, let's say, a director in Rajasthan Royals, you have to ensure that there's no conflict of interest. And because that's the most important aspect as far as managing so many boards are concerned or participating in so many boards are concerned. You got to make sure that when you go in, okay, as a director of company A, there is no conflict of interest when you go and represent as a director in organization B or as a director in organization C. If you're able to compartmentalize these and are able to be disciplined in your approach and make sure that you can stand up when you believe that there is a conflict and I should not be part of this decision-making process, that's where I believe you've got the all ticks as far as the governance is concerned. Yeah, Sunny? So that's how I would summarize in terms of having these diverse experiences. Uh, as I said, it is because I was able to participate, learn from my mentors, contribute and take inputs from my peers. I got these multiple opportunities to participate in these boards and be part of executive or non-executive decisions, right? But as I said, you always have to keep it at the back of your mind that you're going in, for lack of any other word, you're going in as a true independent director and making sure that you are actually looking at the interests of that particular organization and ensuring that no other conflicts come into your vision to deliver just what is required.
Absolutely. That's such a refreshing take, in fact, Mr. Manik. It's incredible how you have brought your leadership into such diverse spaces and still managed to keep it purposeful, sharp, and grounded.
Thank you.
So, diving deeper into the conversation, if there is one thing we have all learned, is that leadership during calm is one thing, but leadership during crisis, that's where the real DNA shows. And what you accomplished during the COVID transition, surpassing growth targets when the world stood still, that speaks volumes. So I would love to hear from you during that intense period of uncertainty. What grounded you? And part B of my question is what kept your compass steady while leading others through such uncharted territory?
Very interesting question. And I think, and it's actually a very classic question because it still keeps on coming up. There've been, multiple case studies written about it in terms of working from office, working from home. I think it was a very interesting and, let's be honest, very strenuous journey at that point of time because, you know, uh, all of a sudden, overnight, you're asked to basically, relocate your operation from physical premises to the boundaries of your home is not easy, especially when you're running an organization that has hundreds of people. So, how did I traverse this journey? First of all, I think what one must realize, and I'm quite sure many leaders like me must have gone through this, is that you have to be calm and composed when you are hit with something like this, which is probably once in a century or something like that. I think what we did is that we went back to our war room. Again, I alone cannot be responsible for transforming our operations overnight to a remote location. We set up a core committee team that worked like a true A team to see what our strengths are, what our weaknesses were, and how we could basically convert our weaknesses into strengths. We knew that we are into the technology sector and space, and if we were to move our operation overnight to remote locations or to people's home, the most important tool that we required was internet connectivity and laptops, right? I mean, these are basic in today's time, and thankfully we had those available. So we basically made sure that within the first couple of days, we were able to empower our people with the right business tools, whether it is a laptop, whether it's internet connectivity, whether it is emotional, what do you call decisions, whether it is practical decisions, we were with them in it. Let's not forget that my co-founders played a very important role. You see, the way the COVID pandemic hit India versus the way COVID pandemic hit the Western world, there's a huge difference. I'm not getting into comparisons in terms of number of people infected. Is that in India and especially in Mumbai, we know how we live, right? We don't have the luxury or the amenities to basically transform your house into a workplace environment. I speak for myself. I stay in a very humble dwelling. You got to literally convert your humble dwelling into a workspace. And like me, many others must have gone through this thing. We had to keep all these aspects in mind, right? That how are we going to ensure that our people have the comfort? We even went up to the extent of taking decisions of transferring workspace chairs to our people's homes just to give them that comfort, right? So we had to look at everything from an emotional aspect, uh, and that, I think, played a very important role, because when people realize that the organization transforms itself from an organization into a family ecosystem and is out there to give you the helping hand to make your dwelling comfortable so that you can continue to contribute to the company, uh, people found that. And we went ahead and did quite a few other significant things to make sure that we remove this ambiguity and this scare that people are going to lose their jobs. I mean, I'm actually honored to say that during COVID, we made sure that none of our people were laid off, right? It was historic because we made sure that we stick with our people, because we knew that this is temporary, and we knew that this is a big opportunity for us, because we knew that a lot of digital transformation is going to happen, and we were a factory built on digital revolution, right? We had to make sure that we carry our people along. I've always in my interviews mentioned that without people, your organization is nothing. We went up to the extent of ensuring that we move from a monthly pay to a fortnightly pay, so that people's lives are not uprooted, paying them every 15 days. You see, these decisions are taken from a humane angle, but at the end of the day, as a leader, I also have to look at organization aspects, such as how do I manage my cash flow, right? If I have to start paying people every 15 days. But we did it, right? We basically re-engineered how we have to work. We have to re-engineer how we organize ourselves during these testing times. I think that was a clicker for us, frankly speaking, right? To move hundreds of people remotely overnight, giving them that comfort, ensuring that we are there for them. You have to show empathy, right? Without empathy, we wouldn't be where we are today, right? Similarly, when the COVID disappeared and we started coming back, that's when we realized that we made a difference to our people, because I'm actually pleased to share that our happiness index in the organization had gone through the roof because of the care that we provided to people, right? I think I would summarize by saying, don't treat your people as commodities. Look at them as the most uh, pivotal asset in your organization, because without them, I wouldn't be sitting out here having the pleasure and honor of sharing my experiences and my successes till date, Sunny.
Girish, it's one thing to hear about numbers and targets, but hearing the thought and heart behind how you navigated that moment really puts your leadership into perspective.
Thank you so much. As I said, uh, the uh, the culture plays a very important role, Sunny. Whichever organization you join, uh, if you can understand the culture in terms of how they treat people, I think that's where I would lay my eggs as far as success is concerned, honestly.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, after everything you have built, from scaling ventures to shaping industries, it's hard not to wonder what's next for you. I mean, as you look ahead, what are some aspirations still calling you, especially when it comes to shaping the future through board contributions and thought leadership?
Look, over the last 20, 25 years, I've done quite a bit. I'll be very honest about it. And I still have the fire and the passion to continue. Uh, I want to really start focusing on aspects such as mentorship, around businesses, around technology, or whatever you want to call it, right? But I am also quite intrigued and interested in terms of governance, and that's one of the key reasons why I have the privilege of joining the Directors Institute. You see, the way industries are transforming today, the way startups are coming up every day, I think there is a very interesting space in terms of contributing around leadership, around governance, because the way, as I said, the way industries are growing, governance has to match up to its speed. I'm not saying it's not there today. I think governance needs to start being a step ahead as far as these new businesses or sectors that are flourishing. And there is a lot of opportunity available out there, whether it's in India or whether international, to to basically reduce that gap. I think uh, that's where I see my passion to contribute more around boards or in an whatever capacity, whether executive, non-executive, advisory capacity, purely because I've been there, done that. Not that I know everything, but I have learned, and learning is a never-ending process. And I think I'll continue to do that. And that's one of the key reasons why I registered myself with the Directors Institute to upskill myself in an avenue which I believe is never going to become redundant or obsolete, right? Today's technology could be redundant tomorrow, but governance will never become redundant. In fact, governance will become a a tool which will have to be introspected with a magnifying glass to ensure that it's keeping up to pace with new industries, new regulations, whether regulated or not. Yeah, Sunny. Thank you. I hope that helps.
That's such a clear and compelling vision, Mr. Manik. It's inspiring to hear how you're thinking not just about what's next, but about what matters.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sunny.
So, moving ahead, Mr. Manik, in the fast paced, high growth environments you operate in, where disruption is constant and speed is everything, it's easy for things like ESG to get treated as a box to tick. But I know for someone like you, it goes deeper than that. In your world of scaling ventures and pushing boundaries, how do you ensure ESG doesn't just stay relevant, but actually becomes part of the culture?
I think every leader in some way or the other has covered these elements on ESG, right? Uh, Look, one of my success mantras is that if you do not believe in something, don't do it. I'm not saying I don't believe in ESG. I definitely believe in ESG. But like you said, I don't like to do things purely from a tick box perspective. And I'll validate my thought process in terms of how we have kept uh, pace as far as ESG is concerned. And I'll give you practical examples as far as this is concerned. First of all, it's not a tick box exercise because our stakeholders, our board, the co-founders truly believe in it. And in one way or the other are contributing as far as these things are concerned. When you now look at environmental aspect as far as the ESG is concerned, during our growth phase, when we were required to build new facilities or new offices, we always kept the environmental aspect in mind. I'm not getting to get into detail, but we made sure that we are being responsible as far as what contribution we make to the environment through our steps, right? So keeping limited aspects around the green aspect, or let's say the heating aspect or the conditioning aspect, those were kept in mind while designing or fabricating offices are concerned. We took very small baby steps, I must say, very honestly, because it's a back then it was still, and it is still a very emerging concept. And with today's time where people are just looking at profits, uh, there needs to be some more steer as far as the environmental aspects are concerned. Having said that, we started working towards it. In fact, we touched upon the Royal Rajasthan Foundation is looking after the environmental aspects in terms of increasing the water tables in Rajasthan through uh, planting certain trees, right? Looking after other livelihood aspects also in terms of empowered women. So yes, we are doing something as far as the environment is concerned in the state of Rajasthan. Again, it's not a tick box exercise because it requires significant amount of resources and funds to make them successful. You will not see the benefit of it today, tomorrow, but you will definitely see the benefit of it uh, over the next decade. So we are leaving something back for the environment, for the society from whom we've taken something, right? Let's look at the social aspect of ESG. What have we done in terms of our contribution? Yes, of course, as part of our CSR, we keep on doing something in terms of contributing back to the community in one way or the other. But we went a step ahead, and when I, as a leader, looked at the social aspect of ESG, I looked inward. I'll give you a classic example. You see, I don't know whether it merits the so-called social aspect, but when I was growing this organization, I found, uh, the gender diversity was quite skewed as far as people are concerned. I mean, as far as gender is concerned, it was tilting towards a 80-20, 80% male and 20% female. And I found that a little strange in a technology industry. And I said, what can be done to balance out this diversity and make sure that we are getting in more women to the workspace, right? I sat with my HR team and we came up with a view or a strategy in terms of balancing these ratios. Of course, it was not done overnight. It took a lot of time, but I'm happy to share that we were able to bring in gender diversity in a ratio of 55 to 45, right? So that's, as I said, look inward. That was our social contribution to get more women back to the workspace, right? So we started doing that. We started looking at other security aspects from a social responsibility perspective. A social perspective is ensuring safety for women, ensuring that they're taken care of, definitely, and committing to maternity benefits as per law. So, as I said, I looked inward as far as social is concerned. And having said that, if you look at the contributions which we are making on the environment side through our Royal Rajasthan Foundation, we've covered a lot of social aspects also in terms of empowered women, in terms of other social responsibilities also. One more example, we're looking at, from a social perspective and a bit of environmental and largely environmental is we're looking at providing solar homes for, again, families back in Rajasthan. So there is a combination of both environmental and social upliftment that is happening in terms of our contribution as far as ESG is concerned, right? Last but not the least, G, which is the governance aspect. I think I would like to simplify it by saying that all the organizations that I've worked with, uh, we've ensured that governance is run like a public limited company as opposed to a private limited company. Now, everyone knows that governance in public sector is, quite different from governance in private sector. But our stakeholders, our co-founders, the board, came up with a commitment that no matter whatever it takes, we want to be absolutely clear in terms of running these organizations like public sector organizations, even though we are private. So that's the kind of uh, uh, discipline we got in terms of running organizations are concerned. Setting up committees, whether they are audit committees, they are financial committees, setting up procurement committees, setting up remuneration committees. I mean, this goes to show that all these organizations are run with discipline. and covering all aspects that makes us truly believe that we are running an organization as per public eyes.
Absolutely, Mr. Manik. You have made it really clear that ESG, when lived rather than labeled, actually strengthens the foundation of growth.
Of course, and without it, I think today we will not be able to progress uh, in any of the industries, because you have to take care of these three core elements if you have to succeed ahead uh, in life. You know.
Rightly said, Mr. Manik. Rightly said. You recently become a part of Directors Institute, and knowing the depth of experience you bring into your every space, I'm curious, how's the journey been so far?
Okay, I must be absolutely honest. It's been quite. It's a very brief that I've it's been a couple of months only, but I think one of the best experiences with Directors Institute has been its people, like you and the others. I think if it wasn't for them, I would have never joined the institute, because they truly believe the experience. They truly believe in giving a brilliant experience to leaders like us, and they've taken me holding my hand through every step of progress that I've made thus far in terms of my courses. Never at any given point of time I was left without answers. So that shows the kind of uh, discipline, that shows the kind of passion each and every member of Directors Institute carries in terms of making this organization successful. And I must admit that it's one of the it's one of those fundamental contributions being made to the society and the organizations by Directors Institute in terms of what they're doing. It's a truly noble initiative, and I wish the Directors Institute good luck and success in their endeavor to truly transform governance across industries.
That's really encouraging to hear, Mr. Manik. It's always great when a platform aligns so well with where you are and where you are headed.
Thank you so much, Sunny. Thank you so much.
So let me tell you, Mr. Manik, this has truly been a standout conversation. The clarity with which you have shared your journey, the scale of your work, and the authenticity you bring to leadership, it's all been incredibly inspiring. Thank you for
Thank you,
letting
Sunny.
us into your world today and for walking us through the highs, the challenges, and the mindset behind them. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunny. It wouldn't have been possible without you. Yeah, you kept me on my toes as far as this interview is concerned. But having said that, it was quite pleasant. Thank you so much.
Thank you once again, Mr. Manik, for joining in. And to our lovely audience, thank you for joining us on FaceTime with Leaders, a podcast by Directors Institute. We will be back soon with more voices, more stories, and more leaders who are shaping industries and leaving that mark. Until then, take care, stay curious, and keep tuning in. Thank you so much. Have a nice time.